This is Tuesday, November 15th. We are going to, get into and finish the story of Arachne, and then get into the story of Heracles. Charity should drive in today. Kansas drive goes to Friday. You should be halfway down with your book report book by this weekend. And then we'll have the quiz tomorrow. It does not cover today's stories, just the ones from previously. Once again, the homework, which you should hopefully have. Be focused. There you go. And then today's story, Heracles, we will not get a chance to finish. That is one you're going to have to actually do the reading on. Hopefully that helps you. And with Arachne, how far did we get with that one?
We got
She got turned into a spider.
Oh wait, no, we didn't.
I don't remember.
Did we?
Arachne.
Oh, to the spider.
Like to the part
No, we didn't.
right after.
So we got to,
The spider.
what does Athena put into her picture?
The God doing good stuff.
What does Arachne put into hers?
God doing bad stuff. And Athena got mad because hers was actually good than hers, and she ended up beating her up. And she ended up beating her.
Beat her down with it. And then
She turned her into a spider so she can live the rest of her life.
Then she hung herself.
hung herself and turned into a spider. Gavin?
She was a rat.
She was Arachne.
Demeter's dog. And she was saying she was weaver than God.
And she
From the video you
That's
watched
weird.
yesterday.
Why'd you hang up her?
I know, that's why it comes back to haunt you. Then, you got that? Alright. Then, we can jump on to the Heracles part. With this one, Heracles and Hercules are the same person. It's just the Greek name versus the Roman name. We already have, like with Aphrodite's son, the little baby with wings. His official name is Eros, but his Roman name is Cupid, the one that you know better, which is similar to Cilios, god of kid playing on iPad thinking Mr. Brovicast doesn't notice as he spends his points, which is a whole different god that exists out there. Don't worry about it. Then, Heracles is his actual name in Greek, and that's the name that we're going to be taking a look at. By your thinking, it's Hercules, but I'll be calling him Heracles. It's the same person, however you want to look at it. How many of you guys have seen the Disney Hercules movie, the cartoon that went with it? If you have, almost everything in that movie has nothing to do with the actual story, except for the fact that there's a person named Hercules, there's a person named Zeus, and there's a girl involved. About all the rest of it's going to be completely different. So as we get into the story, if you keep trying to make that comparison, it's just going to drive you nuts. So, to start off with, Zeus, once again, decides to be friendly. This time he goes down and is with a human girl again. Finds a girl by the name of Alcmena, Alcmena, but he never tells Alcmena that he's Zeus. He pretends that he's somebody else. And it all goes wonderfully till one day when Alcmena gets pregnant, and she's like, I'm pregnant. I think it's time to move to the next level of our relationship. And Zeus goes, yeah, that's not going to happen. She goes, why? He goes, because I'm Zeus. So I'm going to leave now, and you're going to be on your own. And, surprise, my wife's probably going to come down here and try to kill you. Alcmena's like, I don't like that at all. He's like, yeah, I didn't think you would. Good luck, have a good life. And Zeus takes off and just leaves her by herself. Alcmena doesn't want to die. So she decides she has two options. Run and hide, or immediately contact Hera and beg for forgiveness. She decides to go with option 2. She starts praying to Hera immediately. Hera, please forgive me. I had no idea that I was with your man. I did not mean to be friendly with him. Please don't kill me. If you don't kill me, I will name my son, I will name my child after you as an honor to you as a god. Hera hears these prayers and goes, you know what? It's not this girl's fault. She had no idea. Zeus tricked her the whole time. I forgive this girl. She shall not die. But that child's a dead one. So she decides that she's going to kill off this baby as soon as it gets born. Well, as soon as Alcmena gives birth, she thought she was going to give birth to a daughter so she could name the daughter after Hera. She doesn't. She gives birth to a son. She's like, oh, I can't back out now. So she names her son after a female god. And she names him Heracles, which in Greek breaks up to 2 Greek words. The first one's easy. Hera is
Queen of all gods.
The god. Cles is Greek for the joy of or happiness from. So she names her baby the joy of Hera. which essentially is like if you were a boy nowadays and your parents go, yeah, we had a son. We didn't just name him Susie. We named him Happy Susie. They're like, do you hate your baby? Yeah, a little bit. And so that was the same idea. So Hera's name is used to name this small child. As soon as Heracles is born and named after Hera goes, that's so sweet. They named their baby after me. Yeah, I'm still going to kill it. So she decides to go ahead and kill this baby. Within a few days of it being born, she sends 2 gigantic snakes down to kill the baby in its crib. And they go slithering down to earth. Slither, slither, slither. And while the baby's sleeping in its crib, they crawl over the side of the crib and strike at Heracles. The little baby Heracles sees the snakes, looks up, and grabs both snakes around their little necks and squeezes. When he does, their little snake eyeballs go like little squeezy toys, and they pop out, and he starts swinging them around. Wooga, 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 wooga. Grabs the snakes by their tails, whips them around into this wall, and the little teeth hit the wall. And he starts swinging around like a little Spider-Man. Swings around the room, giggling and laughing the whole time, so he gets exhausted, as small babies do, and then drops back into his crib, falls asleep. Alcmena walks in the next day, and is like, holy snikes, those are new snakes. I remember adding those in there. And realizes Heracles is going to have a tough life ahead of him. Hera also sees all this happen, and Hera realizes this boy is not going to be an easy one to kill. So since he's not going to be an easy one to kill, she decides that she's going to go a whole new way. She's like, I'm going to bide my time, and I'm going to be more creative with how I torture him. And it turns out, she doesn't have to do much, because Heracles inherits his father's bad temper and attitude. And when Heracles becomes a teenager, he has a bad attitude because kids keep giving him a hard time at school, because his name is the Joy of Hera. And they're like, oh, you're a little mama's boy, because your name is, ow! And he'd keep punching people and getting into fights. And one day, he's in the woods being tutored by his music teacher, because apparently he was not a very good musician. And the music teacher said, I can't even train you in the school because you're so bad you're going to end up killing people with your music, so we're going to keep you out in the woods where all you can kill are like squirrels and chipmunks. And Heracles is out in the woods trying to practice his music. Bling, dang, 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 bang, dang, dang, dang. And the music teacher keeps yelling. It's like, how is your uncle Apollo? Because you're awful. It must have skipped a generation because you're look at that. The tree just died because of you. And keeps making fun of Heracles because making fun of kids is how we teach. Well, Heracles gets so angry and upset with this English teacher, with this music teacher, as the music teacher keeps hassling him, he grabs the guitar, steps over to the teacher, whang, and smashes the guitar over the teacher's head, killing him instantly, and falls down. Heracles goes, oh, snap, that's not good. Quickly picks up the teacher and runs back to the village. Puts the teacher down in the middle of the village square. Is like, hey, people, come here. I think my teacher's hurt. Then you look him up, and they look at the teacher, who's all, they're like, I think he's dead. Like, how bad of a musician are you? He's like, I didn't mean to. I was playing, and it hit him in the head. They're like, that's not how you play guitar. And he's like, no, I got mad, and I swung it at his head. And they're like, oh, you killed him. He's like, just a little bit. Like, you can't just a little bit kill somebody. And so the people go, all right, listen. One of the worst things you can do is kill somebody. The only thing worse than killing somebody is killing a teacher. Because teachers are the most respected individuals that ever exist. And so they kick him out of the town. And they go, you can't stay here, you horrible teacher killer. And he's kicked out as a teenager and forced to live on his own. He spends the next 10 years roaming the world until he's in his mid-20s. In his mid-20s, he settles down in the woods, off by himself. He's like, I'm not going to go out and hang out with anybody because I have violence issues and anger issues, and I might hurt people, so I'm going to stay by myself in the woods. And he does, for several years. Till one day, he meets a girl in the woods, and she ends up falling in love with him, and they get married. A girl by the name of Megara. And she's like, you've been on your own for so long. You should be with me. And he's like, yes, I should. You're a lovely girl. And they get married. And not only do they get married, they have 2 small children, Heracles Jr. and Heracles III. And the 2 young boys grow up until they're small children. You realize if you make noise with it, I'm going to take it from you. DJ, that's you. Make noise, you lose it. Thank you. And so the 2 kids grow up until they're small children. One day, with his wife and small children at home walking around, Heracles goes, I'm going to go out and chop wood. I'll be back in a little bit, going out to the forest. Like, okay, have fun, Daddy, we love you. And Heracles goes off into the wood and takes his big axe with him. Out in the woods, Hera decides this is the day she's going to get revenge. So she turns herself invisible. And while he's out there chopping wood, she sneaks up behind him and then badonks him in the head. Badonk! And when she donks him in the head, she puts a curse on him. Heracles can feel the badonk. He's like, feels like I just got badonked. But he looks around, he can't see anything. That's kind of weird. So he finishes chopping wood, picks up all the wood, heads back to the house, drops the wood outside the house, and opens the door. He's like, honey, I'm holy cow! And in his house, his family's gone. There's monsters running around in his house. He yells, Ma, where's my family? And the monsters have these big wiggly arms and big old gapely teeth, and they go black, 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 and they start running at him, and they jump on him, and he takes the monsters and throws them to the side. He's like, where's my family? And the monsters come at him again. There's a big one and two small monsters, and he starts attacking the monsters with his axe. He's like, where's my family? And chops the monsters down, and the monsters die, and he still can't find his family. So he runs down to the local village. Running. Gets down there, he's like, hey, there's monsters in my house, and I killed them, and I can't find my family. You guys have to come up here and help me. And the village goes, there's monsters in your house? He goes, yeah, there's monsters, and I killed them. And they go, can we see the monsters? He goes, well, can you help me find my family? They go, if we can see the monsters. He's like, oh, fine. They all come running back up there. They come running back up to where his house is in the woods. And they go, where are the monsters? He goes, they're in my house. They go, all right, we're going to go take a look. He goes, fine, be quick. And they go over to the house, and they push open the door. And they look in, and the villagers start screaming, ah! And he's like, ah, no, horrible monsters. And they look at him, and they start screaming again, ah! And he's like, ah, no, I killed him with this axe. They go, ah! And he's like, what is wrong with you people? So he goes over, and he pushes open the door also, and he looks in, and there's his family inside the house, chopped to pieces. Because when Hera badonked him in the head, the curse she put on him was the next people he would see as monsters. And he saw his own family as monsters and chopped them down with an axe. And Heracles kills his own family. Well, needless to say, the townspeople freak out. They're like, oh, you're a horrible person. You killed your family. He's like, I didn't mean to. Like, the only thing worse than killing your family is killing a teacher. And he's like, I did that too. They're like, all right. He's like, ah. So he throws his axe down and he takes off running. And he runs until he finds an oracle. And an oracle was this way of calling the gods. It was thought like you could dial 1-800-CALL Zeus. It'd be like a direct line up there, and you could speak to the actual gods. And he dials, dook, 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 calls Zeus, and Zeus picks up. He's like, hey, this is Zeus. Heracles goes, hey, Dad, it's me. I need your help. Zeus goes, what's going on? He goes, I kind of killed my family. Zeus is like, whoa, that's pretty bad. Why'd you do that? He's like, I don't know. I thought they were monsters. He's like, yeah. I've seen some kids that are pretty bad too. He's like, no, I really thought they were monsters. And Heracles begs for forgiveness. What can I do? How can you possibly forgive me for doing this? Zeus goes, I can't. That's pretty bad stuff. But I'll talk to the other gods and I'll see what we can come up with. Heracles agrees. Zeus says, I'll send a message to you in a couple days. A couple days later, Heracles gets a message. Zeus says, there are 12 gods on Mount Olympus. We have decided you have to do 12 impossible tasks. One impossible task for each of the gods that exist. You have to do these in 12 years. If you can do these 12 tasks in 12 years, you will be forgiven. If you fail even one of them, or you take more than 12 years to get it done, you will spend the rest of eternity in the pit of Tartarus. Do you agree? And Heracles goes, I agree. Absolutely. What's my first one? Zeus goes, well, I'm not going to choose it for you. I'm going to have this guy by the name of King Eurystheus choose for you. Because King Eurystheus is this horrible, nasty, mean, awful jerk of a man. And he's going to come up with the worst possible tortures for you. If you can do his 12 things, then you'll be forgiven. And Heracles goes, done. I'm off it. And he takes off and goes finds King Eurystheus. King Eurystheus, as soon as he meets Heracles, does not like him. Because King Eurystheus is a small, evil, weaselly little man. And he sees Heracles come in, who's big and tall and good-looking and strong. And King Eurystheus is like, I don't like this guy at all. So he comes up with this first thing. He's like, you know what? There's a village next door to us called Nemea. and they've been terrorized by this lion called the Nemean lion, because it's from Nemea. He goes, if you go kill that lion and bring back its body, we'll count that as your first task. And that helps out the kingdom next to me and makes things easier for me with trade. And Heracles is like, done. I can go kill a lion in my sleep, whatever. So he goes off, he goes and finds this lion. Turns out to be this gigantic one that jumps at him and starts attacking him. He's like, ah! So he pulls out his sword, and when the lion jumps on him, he stabs the lion to kill it. But when he stabs the lion, his sword bounces right off of it. Badonk! He's like, what the? He stabs it again. Badonka! He's like, no! Badonk, 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 badonk. Turns out the Nemean lion has impenetrable skin. It cannot be punctured whatsoever. He goes, oh, snap! This is why the king sent him to go kill it. Knowing you couldn't puncture the skin, figured this lion would kill Heracles on the very first time, solving his problem. But Heracles is smart and realizes if you can't kill the lion by stabbing it, there's other ways to kill it. How's he going to do it?
Strangle it.
Drown it.
He goes all WWE on it and ends up getting on its back, putting it into a chokehold and making it go all asleep. He's like, sleepy time, kitty, and wraps his arm around it. And the cat's like, meow, 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 and kills the cat by strangling it to death. Once he's killed the giant cat, he then realizes, you know what? Having a cloak made out of fur that cannot be penetrated, that'd be pretty cool. So he decides to skin the lion and use it as a penetrable cloak that he can use as armor. Mr. Brovicast, you just said that you can't penetrate the skin, so how are you going to do that? Well, turns out there's one thing that can penetrate the Nemean lion, and that is the Nemean lion. And so he grabs the Nemean lion's paw and squeezes it, popping out its claw. Then, starting from inside the mouth, he guts it from the inside using the Nemean lion's own claw. Rips it in half, and once he's done that, skins it, and uses it as armor. And almost every time you see Heracles, in those pictures there, he's also the one that's over here, he's almost always wearing a lion skin. And that lion skin is going to be the armor he uses in all the future missions and labors he goes off on. He goes back and talks to the king. He's like, hey, thank you for that first mission. That was awesome. I got like this cool cloak I get to wear. Nothing can hurt it. I feel like Batman all the time because I can swing it around and the arrows bounce off it. I look so cool doing it. The king's like, yeah, you're welcome. I definitely planned it that way. He goes, so what's my next mission? And he goes, all right, there's another village. And this village is being terrorized by a Hydra, this giant snake monster. And you have to go kill the Hydra. And then once you kill the Hydra, that'll be your second one. And he goes, that's it? Just go kill a snake monster? And the king's like, yeah, that's it. Just giant snake. You go kill that giant snake and you'll be good. It turns out the Hydra is not your normal giant snake monster. It's a little bit different. Because it has, nicely done. Actually, it has more than 3. It started off with 3 heads and then kept gaining heads from there. Because the Hydra had a couple things to it. Every time you cut off one of the heads, 2 more would grow back. So it kept gaining heads. On top of that, the Hydra's blood was considered to be poisonous. It was so poisonous that just it touching your skin would kill you. Nowadays, we would consider it like acid. So if you went and chopped off one of the heads, you go chop and go, scapularity! And when you're like, ah! You'd sit there and burn, and then blink, 2 more heads would come out. People were like, I give up. And they would just walk away and leave it up there. So it was going out there in this big body of water, just terrorizing everybody that was nearby. Heracles goes out to attack it. He meets this kid along the way. And this kid's like, wait a minute, you're this big tough guy? You're going to go kill the Hydra? Can I join in? Heracles goes, you want to help me go kill this monster? And the kid's like, ah, man, sounds like fun. He's like, you might very well die. And the kid's like, I don't care. Heracles goes, come on. And he brings the kid with him because responsibility is not his friend. And he gets out there. And he goes, all right, kid, here's what we're going to do. We're going to work as a team. And he gives the kid this big, giant burning brush, like a torch. And he goes, when I run up there, I'm going to cut off one of the heads. When I cut off a head, you're going to take the torch, and you're going to run up and melt the end of the head before it can regrow. Does that work for you? And the kid's like, yeah. And they go out there and they work together. And he cuts off heads, and each time he cuts off a head, the kid goes up there and melts it down. And they work as a team. Until it turns out there's one head that will not die. The Hydra turns out to have an immortal head. Even after they cut it off and they've stabbed it, the head lays on the ground just going, hiss, snappy, snappy, hiss, snappy, snappy. And he ends up taking the head and burying it under a rock. But he's not done. He goes, wait a minute. Here's this creature with blood so poisonous that just it touching you could kill you. I can't let that go to waste. So he pulls out his bow and arrows, takes out all of his arrows, and starts dipping them into the Hydra's skin, getting them covered in blood. Dippity, 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 dippity. So his arrows are so powerful, all he has to do is take an arrow out and touch you with it, and it would kill you. And he uses these as he goes out into further adventures. There's him fighting the Hydra. Another picture of him fighting the Hydra. There's a statue of him fighting the Hydra. Then, he has a couple other ones that he ends up going on doing the third labor, the fourth labor. He has to go and track down a deer. He has to track down a pig. There's these horses that go around. There's human-eating horses they were cannibals. They'd go around and eat people, and he had to go kill. And then eventually, the king comes up with another idea. He's like, all right, sending you off to kill monsters isn't doing any good because every time you kill a monster, it's not even tough for you. So he comes up with another idea. He goes, all right, here's what we're going to do. There's a friend of mine, King Aegis, who has this gigantic horse stable. It had over 1,000 horses in it, and it had not been cleaned in forever. It had so much horse poop in the bottom of the stall, it was said to be over a man's head. He goes, here's what you have to do. You have to go to his stables, and you have to clean out all the horse poop in a single day. If you cannot clean out all of that horse poop in a single day, you fail. And he figured, there's no matter how strong or tough you are, there's no way you could possibly do that. Heracles gets there, sees the horse stable, and comes up with an idea. He sees these two rivers that are going nearby. He goes, you know what? Instead of cleaning them by hand, he takes giant rocks, throws them into the river, and redirects the river so it flows to the middle of the barn. The water flows through there, washes all of the giant piles of horse poo away, makes all the horse poo disappear, removes the rocks, rivers go back to where they were originally, and manages to clean out all of that in a single day. He goes back and talks to the king again. He's like, that was easy. I'm done. And then from there, we have 1 minute left. We'll get to. He finishes out all 12 labors. The 12th one involved him going down to the underworld, and the king Eurystheus goes, here's what you have to do. There's a guardian of the underworld. The guardian of the underworld is Cerberus, the big three-headed dog. He goes, I want you to bring Cerberus to me. If you can bring Cerberus to me so that I can see him face to face, that'll be your last one. And he figured there's no way that Heracles can go down there and beat this giant dog, and then beat Hades, and then bring the dog all the way back up to him. He's like, I finally found the impossible task. And he sends Heracles down to the underworld. Heracles gets down to the underworld, sees the gigantic dog. Before he attacks it, he tries a different idea. And there we'll stop.
You still have to read it.
Well, you don't have to read it, but it'll definitely make you figure out what's happening at the end a lot better. Tomorrow, we have a quiz.